Good to go.
So our trip to Central Asia, covering four countries: Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan. This takes place this year of September 16 to October 1st, 16 days, 14 nights, including travel time, covering four countries. Now, let's go over the general map first. All these, four countries. Uzbekistan is in the center here, Turkmenistan to the southeast, and Kyrgyzstan is southwest. Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan is to the north and northeast of Uzbekistan. So it is a wide area that we are going to cover. We will either drive and, cross the borders driving, or we will fly from one country to the other. Let me just go over the itinerary very quickly. Our route very quickly. First, we will fly into Tashkent, the capital of Uzbekistan, and spend 2 nights there. From there, we will fly west, just flying over the desert here to Urgench, visiting Khiva, just next to Turkmenistan border. And we will cross the Turkmenistan border to Dashavuz with some, visits over there. And then our main purpose is to fly into the capital, ASHGABAT, capital of Turkmenistan. From there, we will fly to an oasis city, Mari, again in the middle of the desert, a Kızılkum Desert. And we will visit this historic site, then drive northeast, crossing the borders into Uzbekistan again to Bukhara. From there, we will drive to the famed city of Samarkand, then fly back to Tashkent with the connection flight to Almaty, the biggest city of Kazakhstan. And from there, we will drive to Bishkek, the capital of Kyrgyzstan, crossing another border and have an excursion outside Bishkek, and then fly back home. So this will be our general route. Our first stop is Tashkent, the capital of Uzbekistan. It is at the edge of the steppe on one side and desert on the other side. It is generally, foggy and dusty, like you see here. It has important historic sites. It wasn't a very big city from the start. And especially after 1966 earthquake, most of the structures were destroyed, and some of them were renovated, but most of the city was totally reconstructed. Even before that, after the 1917 revolution and after 1924-25, when Uzbeks chose to become a part of the Soviet Union, the city, the modern city, was established more or less after that. Now, this is one of the historic madrasas that we are going to visit in the center of the city. Tashkent, in that sense, just brings together the historic part from mainly 18th century, 17th and 18th centuries, and the more, Soviet side, the blocks from Soviet period, the apartment buildings, mostly not renovated after 1992. So plus modern Islamic architecture. This is one of the grand mosques in the city center that was built after 1992, after the country gained its independence from the Soviets. And we'll also have an opportunity to visit. This is a functioning madrasa, for example, again, just very close to that previous grand mosque. When we say madrasa, of course, we have quite negative connotations, especially with everything going on in Central Asia and in just the Middle East. Historically, madrasa, it corresponds to universities of the Islamic period. So there was general education here, not only Islam, not only theology, but mathematics and astronomy and languages and philosophy were taught. So it was a kind of general purpose college all the time. In time, when the modern education took over the sciences part, the madrasas became only for religious education. So this is one of those, and currently these madrasas are administered by the government, under control of the government. So we'll have an opportunity to visit one of the madrasas, maybe talk with the students over there. What we see here is the central market. The central market of Tashkent is really quite interesting. We see all the food vendors, and here another, what we see in the forefront, this is some kind of a combination of cheese and yogurt, actually, kind of very dense yogurt that you can cut into pieces and mix with water or eat it as it is. So we'll have an opportunity to visit the central market and meet with people. This is a traditional bread, Uzbek bread, the main staple in the country. Just every morning, for every lunch and dinner, we will see this on our table. And the Independence Square, this is the Parliament building. After the independence from Soviet Union in 1991, and the country was accepted into United Nations in 1992. Uzbekistan is a country of about 35 million, and this parliament was established, and the building was constructed after 1992. The first president, well, just as the tradition in Central Asia is, president for life, Islam Karimov, who died just a couple of years ago. He was the president. This is next to that building. There's a huge square, actually, as I mentioned, Independence Square, and this is the Happy Mother statue that symbolizes the new free country, free Uzbekistan. And we will just walk around in the square, visit or see the parliament building and various monuments, especially the monuments after the earthquake and the monuments for the heroes of the Second World War. So this is the main square of the city. Now, Uzbekistan, Tashkent is north, in the north of the country. We will fly, after our visit in the capital, we will fly east all the way to the border. The airport is in the town of Urgench, and we'll drive to Khiva. Now, Khiva is one of the highlights of our tour. I say one of the highlights because it has really a number of highlights, very impressive places. Khiva is one of the Silk Road centers. And once we enter the city, most of which has been reconstructed during the Soviet period by the end of 1960s and beginning of 1970s, but it was reconstructed, just very faithfully. All the architecture, the city itself is totally impeccable. And this is an overview with the monumental structures. You see the minarets, the domes of the mosques, and the madrasa here, and a thick minaret, thick and short minaret here, all covered with turquoise tiles that are, the signature. That's the signature color of Central Asia, I should say, that you can find all the way from Eastern China to Western China, all the way to Iran. So we will enter the city. This is one of the gates here. We will see in a short while mud brick walls just surrounded by, and all the walls are intact. So the city was there actually starting from 12th century, the end of 11th and beginning of 12th century. But what we see here, even before the construction, is mostly from the end of 17th, beginning of 18th centuries. This is a close-up of the city walls, the mud brick walls surrounding the city, and one of the impressive gates that we are going to go in. And although it looks like, a total reconstruction and like a movie set feeling, it is not. It is a living place where people live. Yes, it is a touristic center, being one of the important historic sites in the country, but it is a living city that has residents, and the daily life goes on. This is one of the streets and one of the summer palaces of the Khans, that is the lords of the beginning of 19th century. So we will walk around and we will meet with local people. As I said, these places are living places and also very important locations for domestic travel as well. This is a student group from another part of the country visiting Hiva, and elderly people coming to visit especially the monumental mausoleums of the Sufi saints, a number of whom are within the city walls. So it is kind of a small pilgrimage in a sense. What we see in the background over there, those are tandoors, those are ovens to make bread actually. And just three young people in traditional garbs, in traditional dresses and suits. There are occasional dance and folk dance demonstrations, so we'll have a chance to see the folk dances and hear folk music. And as I mentioned, this is a living place where people come for partly, I shouldn't maybe call it pilgrimage, but visiting the monumental tombs of Islamic saints from 12th, 13th, 14th centuries. So this family is here actually visiting one of those monumental tombs, one of the saints. And there is a well in the front, which is considered to have a sacred, sacred water. So the father of the family, he is taking water out of the well with that bucket, and they will drink the water for its, blessing. If you have ever visited Japan, for example, just in Japanese temples, almost every temple there is this kind of a water fountain, not a well maybe, just people drink the water for blessing. Just very similar tradition is going on here in Central Asia as well. It's not only in Uzbekistan, but in Central Asia in general. So we will spend our day in Hiva, visiting this historic city and talking about its history, its stories, and getting information about its connection with the Silk Road. And the next day, we will drive to the border of Turkmenistan and cross the border into Tashos. Now, crossing the border to Turkmenistan, that is really an experience in itself. It is, on the one hand, not that easy because of the border patrols and border officials over there. Now, Turkmenistan is one of the strictest countries in the world. We all know about North Korea, for example. Just going there is really very difficult, if not impossible. And there are all these restrictions, and people live under total supervision. And Turkmenistan is like that. after North Korea, it comes Turkmenistan, one of the strictest countries in the world. And so going in, coming out, it is really a big issue. And they really, check everything, and certain medication is totally restricted, and they check the luggage, check for all these medications, and check the names of doctors. It is a big, process going through the border. But once we are in, everything is fine, and people are friendly. It is really interesting. So the friendly people, actually, that is an important aspect of the country. The country is not that big. The total population is about 6 million. And as you see, most of the country is actually desert. Ashgabat, the capital, the population is about 1 million. It is down south. In the middle, there is Kızılkum Desert. It's not a sand desert, but it is, more like steppes, or just plain earth, I should say. So once we enter Dashoz, we will visit one of the UNESCO heritage sites over there, Konya Urgenç, that has been the capital of one of the capitals of Seljuk Turkish Empire, starting from 10th century. And we'll most probably meet, again, local people visiting these locations. Local people, as I mentioned just a moment ago, visit these places not only because of their historic importance, but also just to pay their respects to the old sultans, or Islamic saints, or other historic figures, the Muslims of whom are still there. So they all, especially women, wear their traditional clothes. It is kind of compulsory. I mean, it's not just by choice, but in Turkmenistan, it's kind of compulsory that, just especially women and young people and students, what they are going to wear. So we will see them in their traditional clothes, sometimes in uniforms. And this is the remnant of, it's a huge minaret. So the main building of the mosque was destroyed by an earthquake. Only the minaret remains. And the tradition over there is to circle the minaret, or whatever holy structure there is, 3 times, just praying for their health, praying whatever they pray, for their family and loved ones. So we will spend time in Dashoz and fly to Ashgabat down south, the capital of Turkmenistan. As I mentioned, population is about 1 million, and it is an interesting city. At first sight, it is a little bit surreal, actually. It's all white marble everywhere, all these buildings, wide boulevards without any traffic. This is one of the ministries. And here, these are all residential buildings, and residential buildings are assigned. Each one is assigned for the members or officers, employers of certain ministries. And at night, you see most of the lights are off, and you don't know whether they are really occupied or not. There isn't, plenty of information around. But what happened is, again, just being a Soviet republic, the Turkmenistan was a part of Soviet Union, obviously. In 1991, independence. 92, being a part of United Nations, and then just the just the regular route of other Central Asian countries. There is Saparmurat Niyazov, the lifetime president, once a member of the Soviet Politburo. He was elected as the president, and by decree, all the old buildings were covered by white marble. So he wanted, everything shiny. And at night, there are all neon lights of all colors. I don't think I have a night view here, but it is also very interesting to see, and it's very eerie at the same time, see all that night view of neon colors everywhere in the city. So, well, another interesting thing we see now, this is kind of rush hour. We see some traffic here. We see a black car. Well, I took this photo a number of years ago, but recently, for example, the new president actually decreed that there wouldn't be any cars other than white in color. So the cars should also be painted in white. And people started complaining that, just, painting, having their car painted would be costlier than, more expensive than the car itself. So I don't know how long it will go and how serious that is, but that is the recent news. So just we see a black car here, most probably something official maybe. In the city, well, there are all these monuments for everything, including the president. This monument was erected by the first president, again, Sapar Murat Niyazov, who gave himself the title of Turkmenbashi, the head of Turkmens. And I'm sure you must have read it in the various news, not recent, of course, because he died again a couple of years ago now. Not a couple of, actually, it's been maybe 6-7 years. And there is now Berdi Muhammadov, another president. But this was erected by the first president. He wrote a book, Ruhname, the Book of Spirits, which is compulsory reading for every Turkmen. And this is a monument to honor his book, actually. And at the bottom, this is a building where the original copy of his book is stored and displayed. And this is the man himself, the golden statue of Sapar Murat Niyazov, the statue that always faces the sun during the day, turns around. It was in a very central location before his death. Now this is its new location, just in a small park, a little bit in the outskirts of the city, and I couldn't actually go there during the tour, so I had to take this photo from the bus, while driving by. So the first president, with all his golden might, and the Turkmen horses, which are very famous actually. So and during our visit in ASHGABAT, we'll also have an opportunity to visit the stables and see the Turkmen horses. They are really very beautiful and noble creatures. Now, ASHGABAT is also important, historically important, because of this historic site, Nisa, the old Nisa, the ancient capital of the Parthian Empire from 3rd century BC. Parthians, they were, just predecessors of Persians. From Parthians, they were afterwards. I'm sorry. Yeah, so it's very interesting archaeological site. We'll just, of course, go in, walk around, and get information about the history of this place. That was built just immediately after Alexander the Great was here. So it was a very little settlement during the time of Alexander's armies. So ASHGABAT. From ASHGABAT, the capital, we'll also visit the National Museum, actually. I should mention that. That is a very, very nice museum with all the artifacts that were excavated from various parts of Turkmenistan that gives important information about the archaeology and history of Central Asia in general. From here, we will fly to Mari. this is, as you see on the map, there's a little the green area here. This is a little oasis, and the oasis city of Mari, surrounded by the Kızılkum red sand desert. So this was an important center, important capital to various states and empires. At the moment, a small number of artifacts and buildings can be seen, but this aerial picture, this shows the vastness of the place. There are different periods from different empires, and this round one in the middle, for example, this was one of the oldest settlements, and the remaining, whatever is remaining of the old city walls. And then we see the other walls, of the bigger city from a later, much later period. So there was settlement from the Achaemenid period, that is 4th century, 5th century BC. From Hellenistic periods, the remaining forces of the Alexander Great were here. Sasanians, the pre-Iranian people were here. Abbasid people, those are the first Islamic settlers from today's Saudi Arabia and Syria, just occupying Central Asia and bringing Islam to this way. They were here. Seljuk Turks coming from today's Mongolia, coming west and settling down here and converting into Islam. And this Mari, the ancient name is MERV, became one of the first capitals of these Seljuk Turks, who later moved west and settled in today's Iran. Isfahan was their second big capital. From there, they moved into Turkey, went all the way to Konya, and that was their later capital. So it went all the way to the end of 13th century. And then who came? Timurlane, of course, the beginning of 14th century. And that was more or less the end of the glorious days of this settlement, I should say. So we're going to see, this is from Abbasid period, for example, from 10th and 11th centuries. One of the remnants of a palace. There are more structures to be seen, of course. This is the monumental mausoleum of one of the Seljuk sultans, Sultan Sanjar. It is in good shape. It was renovated, and just today's Turkish Republic, they came up with the money to renovate the place, and it is one of the important centers for local people as well. As I mentioned previously, just they come and pray for the soul of the Sultan here, and visit this place. And also close by, there is an important Islamic settlement, an Islamic compound, I should say, that is built around the mausoleum of another Sufi saint, and it is also one of the important, visiting points, pilgrimage points for the locals, especially on certain days of the Islamic calendar. People come here, just they are praying, for the soul of this Sufi saint from 13th century. And here again, just local people praying, and afterwards there's a communal kitchen over there where they just cook all together and eat. It is, there are big halls to accommodate all these visitors, and and they also bring their own kind of picnic stuff and spend their day in this big complex. So we will visit this MERV area. We'll also visit the History Museum, where we will see the artifacts that were excavated in this ancient city of MERV. Then the next day, we will leave MERV and drive back to Uzbekistan. We will drive through the Kızılkum Desert. This is one of the long days, actually, yes, and then cross the border. This time crossing, out of Turkmenistan is not much of a problem. Going in is the, more interesting and exciting part. But still, just we come to the border. The interesting thing along the way is, of course, our destination, Bukhara, is extremely interesting and very, very, just nice place to see. But along the way, of course, we will drive through this desert. That is one thing. And the other thing is, this is, okay, our route and our, top of the line modern transportation with top air conditioning here. Of course, this is the joke. Just we have really very nice buses, good drivers, and good guides. This is Amudarya River, the river Oxus. Alexander the Great was here. He crossed this river coming down south from north on the way to MERV and down south to India. So this is really an important thing. It is important to cross Oxus here. There's this pontoon bridge where we'll, drive through and cross into Uzbekistan and end up in Bukhara. Bukhara, this is the whole city is in the UNESCO Heritage List. It was capital of Khanates. Now, Uzbeks, they were in this area, just all the Central Asia. I should actually mention this before maybe. There are all these Turkic nations, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan, but all from various time periods. So they are related, in the depths of history, but as we come close to today, they are, differentiated quite a lot. So Uzbeks were in this area starting from the end of 16th, beginning of 17th century. And at the time, there was no, just Uzbekistan, the unified country, but there were all these emirates and khanates, Khan being the lord, the Turkish word for lord. So they had their domains. Samarkand was one domain, Bukhara was a city-state, and Khiva was another state along the Silk Road. So Bukhara was one of the important centers in that sense, not only commercially, but also with the expansion of Islam through Central Asia. Bukhara became one of the educational centers. So it has quite a number of madrasas, most of which are quite intact. So we are going to visit them. This is one of the palaces of the Khan from the end of 18th century. And this is a masterpiece in itself, masterpiece of masonry, a mausoleum of one of the emirs, actually. Samani Mausoleum is said he is the founder of this Samani dynasty, who was, this family took power from the Abbasis as their surrogates, actually, when Islam first was introduced at the end of 10th century, beginning of 11th century. So this is also one of the oldest structures in the city, and a really beautiful one at that. So we will visit all these, and again, meet with friendly people. Now, these sitting, what should I call them? Areas, just raised, elevated areas. They are very common, especially in Uzbekistan, all around, in the parks, in the restaurants. And people like, to sit over there, have their food, listen to music. And so these ladies, they were just enjoying their food and having their lunch. And they saw us, they started waving. And just immediately after I took this picture, they invited our group to dance with them. They started singing and everything. So it was a festive moment. So this is a central point in the city. The city is kind of founded around this pool. There are restaurants and coffee shops and tea houses. So this is the main meeting point of the locals. So we will spend our day and 2 nights in Bukhara, just visiting all these historic locations and enjoying the atmosphere of the city. And then from here, we will drive to Samarkand, this time crossing another desert. This is the northern part of the extension of the desert that we already went through in Turkmenistan, right? Now, this arrow just takes us from Bukhara to Samarkand, straight, directly. But it is not that easy, unfortunately, to drive from Bukhara to Samarkand. There is a short way, a short, outer highway, which is full of potholes. It has been full of potholes for the last 25 years, and they never, repaired it. So we take the long route here, down, going down south, and then up north again, which is also good in a way, because on the way, there is an important site that we are going to visit, which is the birthplace of Tamerlane. So we will see that, Shahrazabs, which is just before Samarkand, actually. Yes, Tamerlane. So his birthplace is just in this area, more or less. And just before moving to the next slide, next picture, I want to point out how close we are to Afghanistan. Now, this is Tajikistan here. Kyrgyzstan is up here, Kazakhstan up north, and this is Afghanistan. So in 2002, during the operation of fighting against Taliban and occupying Afghanistan, U.S. forces came through this highway through Termez and went into Mazar Sharif and Kunduz and went all the way. So this is the important highway, not only for today's armies, but in the past too. That was the route more or less Alexander used and Tamerlane followed. So just we will see that route partly going or driving into Samarkand. Samarkand, this is another highlight of our trip. So this is the main Registan. Yes, the center of the historic city. 1, 2, 3 structures. All 3 of them are 3 madrasas from 3 different periods, and some of them are still under renovation, but mostly that is finished by now. And we'll have an opportunity to visit all 3 of them, get information about them, and this is a night view, just one of the evenings. We can walk there to see the sound and light show. It is really very beautiful and interesting. So I mentioned that Tamerlane, he was born in another location close to Samarkand, and we will visit that place, Shahrazabs, but his tomb is in Samarkand. Samarkand became Samarkand mostly during the time of Tamerlane. It was his capital, and he funded all this construction. And his mausoleum too here, this is a daytime view, and this is the night view. And we will visit his mausoleum and of course talk about history. Tamerlane, he is maybe the last great Mongolian Khan empire, emperor, we should say, He is not from the line of Genghis Khan, but he was he found a way to attach himself to his lineage by marrying to a woman who comes from Genghis Khan's lineage. He took power and he expanded the empire all the way to steppes of north of Black Sea, Ural Altai Mountains, and down south to central Anatolia, that today is Turkey, and down south to Iran and Iraq, and today is Syria, and managed to demolish almost everything that was on his way. So we'll talk about all that history here in Samarkand, and we'll also visit the most important royal mausoleum of these times, which is also located in Samarkand. Another important aspect of Samarkand is, this is not a historic thing, but more recent. They started vineyards and winery here in this area. Of course, there was some, wine production historically, but recently the Uzbek government just is trying to promote that, and they have really some tasty wines. We'll visit a winery and try local wine and brandy also that they produced over there. This is another view. Oh, this is inside Tamerlane's mausoleum. Yes, the mausoleum is down here. It is kind of dark, obviously, inside. And after Samarkand, what we're going to do, we will fly from Samarkand to Tashkent without stopping, just connecting the next flight to Kazakhstan, Almaty. So Almaty, well, this is an overview of the city. It was the capital of Kazakhstan. It's the biggest city in Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan has a population of about 19 million people, and Almaty is about 2 million. But again, a very similar story. After 1992, after gaining independence or from Soviet Union, they established their republic, and the top figure of the Politburo of the Soviet times was elected as the president, Nursultan Nazarbayev. He became the lifetime president, who recently was, just gave up actually his title a couple of years ago. But still he was, he had the power. He was the head of the National Security Council. And he was kind of taken from that position, that post, to just a couple of weeks ago. If you are following the news, there were all these clashes that came after the price of gas was increased. Of course, that was kind of a pretext. But there are other, political unrest is going on in the country. So this is Almaty, but before that, I would say, actually, I just distracted myself. The capital was moved up north to another city. Now, why did I forget the name? If somebody can remind me. Astana. Yes, exactly. Yes. So one was moved to Astana, and its name was also changed from Astana to Nur Sultan. Because he gave his name, the previous president, he named the city after himself, because he's the one who just, gave all the funds over there to construct a city very similar to ASHGABAT, actually, all white marble and neon lights. So we will not go there up north, but we will be in Almaty and talk about the history of this biggest city, the commercial center of Kazakhstan. So this is the cable car that will take us up to the Köktepe, the highest point of the city, to see that view. This is one of the main squares, Pamphilov Park, with the Orthodox cathedral from Russian times, from late 19th century, pre-Soviet times. Now, one important, maybe the most important aspect of visiting Almaty and Kazakhstan in general is, to see the Soviet artifacts. Most of the monuments are there from Soviet times. The parks are, still full of those Soviet time sculptures. This is one of the sculptures that is put there to memorialize the heroes of the Second World War. Of course, war was not fought here, but all these Central Asian countries, they sent soldiers to fight in the Red Army against Nazi Germany at the time. So that's one of the parks over there. So most of the Soviet time, high reliefs and ornaments and buildings they were left as they are. In the capital, we will visit a number of interesting squares, historic parts of the city. Also, the most important parts are the museums. We will visit the State History Museum. Now, this is the entrance. One of the times that I was there, there was a festival. These are students. There was a music and dance show by the students. Entrance to the museum. And the important part of the museum, of course, the items exhibited there are important. There are Scythian gold pieces, for example, excavated in various parts of Kazakh steppes. Those are very important things to see. But the building itself and the frescoes and sculptures that are inside the museum from Soviet times. This is one of the frescoes, as you see, just that was kept as it is. And the building is full of frescoes like this. And Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels heading the proletariat to revolution. And Mr. Lenin here giving his speech and leading the revolution of 1917, October Revolution. So it is important to see all these artifacts from the Soviet times. They are not there for exhibit purposes. Mostly they are just left there, but these are important parts of the History Museum itself. So this is Kazakhstan. Now, from Kazakhstan, we will drive and we will have a taste of the Kazakh steppes, of course. Along the route, we will see sheep and horses, of course. So we will just drive from Almaty to Bishkek, the capital of Kyrgyzstan, crossing the border, another land border that we're going to cross into Kyrgyzstan. Now, these four countries, just to again give some additional information. Economically, Uzbekistan has the most diversified economy. They have agriculture, especially to the east of Tashkent, the Fargana Valley. They have cotton production, and they have all fruits and vegetables, and they have industry. The infrastructure was built during Soviet times, and it is still going on. Irrigation, although they damaged their lakes and rivers, there's considerable irrigation for agriculture. So they have all this diversified economy kind of to compensate the lack of oil. Turkmenistan, well, they have some oil, but mostly gas, natural gas, and they don't have anything else. A little bit of agriculture, but just local production for local consumption. Kazakhstan, they are not diversified that much. They have oil, but mostly they have one of the biggest natural gas reserves in the world. So they go with that, and they have some automotive industry. But main thing is again natural gas. And Kyrgyzstan, well, among the four, they are the poorest. They have sheep, and mainly that is all they have. So we'll be in the capital of Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan. The total population of the country is about 6.5 million. The capital is about 1 million. And of course, the scenery, both in Almaty and also in Bishkek, surrounded by mountains, Alata Mountains, Tian Shan Mountains, and Altai Mountains. So in various directions, seeing all these mountains in the distance, that is really a very interesting view. Bishkek, it has also large squares from Soviet times. After 1992, they just put statues for their historic, mythic heroes. This is one of the heroes of their Manas legend. We'll talk about that legend, or the stories and heroisms that this legendary person was a hero of. And we'll see again one of the main squares with Mr. Ulyanov just saluting people and greeting people, and changing of the guards, again Soviet style. And of course, we also visit the State History Museum. They also have a big collection of Central Asian archaeology, the artifacts that were excavated in the steppes. Now, archaeologically, that is the hot thing for the last 20 years. Before the collapse of Soviet Union, the area was not open to Western archaeologists, and whatever was excavated there, it was not quite well known in the Western world. But after that, all those artifacts, especially those nomadic peoples of the Central Asian steppes, they are in their settlements, and the Silk Road settlements of history, archaeologists started to work on them, and all the artifacts that were found in those sites, they are exhibited in the State History Museum here in Bishkek, and also in Almaty of Kazakhstan. So that is not our final point. Actually, we have one more day to go from Bishkek. We have an excursion, a day excursion outside Bishkek, about 1 hour drive to another historic capital from 9th and 10th centuries. The name of the city is Balasagun. That was the capital of the Karahan state. That is again the just initial stages of Islam spreading into Central Asia. This is the remnant of a mosque, a minaret. Again, nice masonry, the ornaments. We are going to see. We'll climb up there if you like and see the artifacts, the remnants of the city. These are ancient Turkic gravestones. They are called balbals, and they are just in the shape of just people, actually, the faces. They are very interesting, and all Central Asia is kind of littered with them all around. And in Kyrgyzstan, the ones that they found in various settlements, they collected them here in this area, and we'll also see them and talk about the old Turkic gravestones, balbals. And this day also we'll visit a local village and have lunch with one of the local Kyrgyz families, having local dishes. That is also going to be one of the interesting parts of our day. So with that, our visit to Kyrgyzstan will come to an end, and we will fly back home from Bishkek. That will be the end of our 16-day trip to Central Asian countries.